For the latest top tips, reviews and advice, please subscribe below.
Hello and welcome to Attwoolls Outdoors with me, Mike. Today I'm giving you a bit of a review video on a new air awning from Isabella. So I'm here today, I've got the Isabella Ventura Aura. So I'm always worth saying actually, it's not just the Aura we're going to talk about in this video. So it's basically the Aura, the Lux and the Alto. So those three models essentially are the same in every single way, just in terms of what vehicles it fits are a bit different. So we're just going to kind of get this out at the start. So the Aura is basically the caravan version, so it's designed with a beading to fit the caravan. The Lux is exactly the same in every single way, just the fact the beading's been changed. So actually it's a sort of like a 5mm bead to fit in any kind of wind-up awning, so designed really for motorhomes. Now that collection is designed to fit vehicles between 240 and 260, whereas the Alto is a next step up. So you still have the motorhome bead, so again designed for wind-up blinds and that sort of stuff, but the fitment height is from 260 to 280. So they're all about the same price per model, so you basically pick and choose whether you want, like, you got a caravan, a motorhome, or a tall motorhome. So just to kind of get that start, but everything else we're going to kind of go throughout this video is exactly the same. So functionality, materials, yeah. So trying to straighten out. It's be easier they made one model, but Isabella being as particular they want to be, that's them for sure. So what we got here is the air awning comes in 3 different sizes. So they do a 260, a 330 and a 4 metre. For clarity, I've got the 330 here with me today, and we've also got the inflatable annex as well, which is an optional extra. Now, what Isabella have really done is they've kind of come into the market and gone, right, we need to make a well-made, as we know with Isabella, good quality air awning that, you know, to be honest, isn't extortionately expensive. And that's where I think the whole Aura, Alto and Lux collection works really well. The Aura, I think, looks brilliantly. What they've really done is they've been really clever with the materials they've used. So they've actually running with a 300 gram per square meter polyester fabric, but it's got a real nice weave and weft to it. So it looks very similar to kind of their acrylic material. It's still dope dyed, so essentially at the point where they dye the yarn before it's woven into the thread. So this is the reason being we use the typical analogy between a carrot and a radish when you cut them in half. Carrot being the colour all the way through, your radish being the colour on the outside and white in the centre. So we're still carrot-esque with this as well. So you get that sort of nice point from that. So over the lifespan of it, it will retain its colour. So it still looks as sharp as it is on day one as it is further down the line. Now, we have a single point inflation for all models. So we've got a single inflation point. And then we've got basically deflation points. So depending on where you go, when you move up to the 400, there is an extra leg beam, but for the 260 and 330, it's kind of one nice big air structure. So we've got the single inflation point on this side, located here. So it's a Boston valve for inflating. And then what you have is a little turn point, so that's an isolation valve for deflating. So it's easy to get the air in and out, like I said. As standard, actually, all of the models come with an electric pump, which is very different for a porch room, but Isabella have got their own electric pump. The pressure recommended for this is based between 7 and 9 psi, so rocket about 8 psi is perfectly fine. The system's been tested beyond that, but it's, you know, it just really has kind of the recommendation as such. Very quick and easy because it obviously is a porch awning, so you literally can feed it into the rail, peg down the back, inflate it up, peg the front out, and go from there. As standard, not only do you get electric pump, but you also get storm straps. The storm straps are included and gives it more belts and braces off the side. You also get a draft skirt included and a wheel arch cover included. So again, value for money, which, you know, and good quality, that's what you kind of get in with this package as well. Now, obviously, as you expand the range, what we can see from the front here, we've obviously got door sections. So we've got a little bit of door window for obviously good sort of clarity. Now, to match up with the really nice sort of side fabric, we've also got a really strong polyester roof, runs about 270 grams as well, and then we've got a nice hard-wearing PVC mud skirting on the bottom, about 480 grams per square meter. So it's still got that real kind of DNA with it. In terms of the way it's stitched, it uses a very similar sort of method in terms of the main stitching, and there's also some really nice strong welding points on top as well. Again, quality with Isabella is what they're kind of renowned for. Naturally, you get a 2-year warranty and a 3rd year once you register it will become part of the Isabella little club. Now, they use really strong kind of oversized beams. The beams itself are kind of made from TPU, so it's a really good strong material. Something we see, it almost has to be now that it's the bog standard must really for any kind of awnings. But the way they've done the casing is a little bit different as well. So they've got almost a double sleeve layer kind of casing. This is to kind of stop the beam from twisting inside of itself, again giving you better structure, but more importantly, just when you put it down and put it up, you're not getting any kind of movement in there. On second to that as well, the way the beams actually the beam tube is actually velcroed into the sleeve as well, so again you haven't got the risk of anything moving parts. Again, it's really kind of thought into it sort of further down the line. Little brow canopy, and it's kind of a traditional kind of style with the apex kind of style. Little brow canopy over the top here as well, which is really quite nice. Little point that comes directly out, and it's sort of funneled, so again it just gives that real nice kind of, I want to say like a nose, but it's kind of like a nose in that way, and just sits and gets that canopy looking really quite sharp. Nice big ventilation point at the top here, and that's one thing, again, you've still got that kind of typical fabrics with strong sort of nice black mesh. So even though the material necessarily isn't breathable, they've got lots of ventilation built into it. All of the panels can be completely removed, so you've got the front panel, side panels can be completely removed, so it can potentially come up a gazebo. Alternatively, when you're feeding into rail, this helps to reduce the weight when you're feeding it directly in. Also, it depends on whether you go for 260, 330 or the 400. It's all a standard depth of 2.5 meters. So, but one thing I would say is, because of the general design of the awning itself, it feels very spacious inside, and we'll look at that a bit later on in this video. Excuse me. A few other things that kind of is still very much in kind of Isabella's DNA is things like the pegging points. So all the pegging points are kite stitched and reinforced, so that way, again, really nice for wear and tear. Nice, we've got a hardware and PVC mud skirt on there as well, just to kind of take the brunts of whatever you're going directly down on. And you've got the typical kind of Isabella elasticated points, which can easily be replaced or repaired if need be. On the side panels, what we run with as well, you can probably just about see it, but we've got a kind of like a nice big window and then a door as well. So what we've kind of done is we've got, say, 30% door, 60% window, and then an extra little panel here as well. These panels can be interchanged, so what it means is rather than having the door positioned at the back of the caravan, by switching them over, you bring it to the front. But again, there's a really nice big mesh part located on there as well. In fact, I'll tell you what let's do. Let's bring the camera inside and kind of get a bit more up close with some of these things. So now inside the Aura, you can probably get a bit of a better understanding for the sort of space you have here. So one thing that's quite nice, like I said, even though it's a standard depth, it feels deeper. I don't know why. Again, I think it's just that very vertical front and the kind of the overall strength. And you probably get a better understanding for kind of the mere structure actually of the actual tube. Now, the tube itself, like I said, it's basically pumped up from a single inflation point. You've got it's a single welded tube the whole way through. So one thing you've got is also the casing. The zips and everything have been slightly on purposely offset, so you have got a bit of a curve to it. Really, it's to allow you to basically have the optional veranda pole sort of stretch across that whole front section. So when you look at the 260 and the 330, the veranda pole comes included as standard. When you move it to the 400, it's an optional extra, basically. So, but I think again, it's just really quite nice, and the ability, because you've got spiral chain zips. It means when you've got the pegging point, sort of tension and running sort of the zip runner through, even when you're on sort of the harsh kind of corners, it still glides really quite nicely. And also, again, big PVC windows to get plenty of light in, but you've got sort of traditional kind of curtains, almost very soft touch as well, so works really quite well. Little clasps and things around the doorways and sort of the little zip points, again, are really quite well done. Optionals, roof linings you can look at as well, so that's the same across the whole collection. We've also done a separate review video on the Nova, which is kind of their full awning version of this as well, in the same kind of specification, so you can always by all means check that out. Now, we've got this situated with obviously the optional exit, which is the annex. So the annex itself, again, adds a bit of extra space. The inner bedroom is an optional extra, so you would buy that separately, but gives you a good amount of space itself. You can obviously clip that down, happily get a 2-berth in there. Now, the inner bedroom itself is Isabella's normal version, but as you can see, I can sort of just about nearly stand up in it. good amount of depth, really nice PVC panel located at the back. And there are adjustable poles in here as well to get that extra tension to it. So it's an airframe, like so. So you'd use the electric pump that comes with the awning to pump it up, because there's not a pump that comes with the Annex. And then you can just unzip the panel, replace this panel directly in, and that kind of comes directly into it as well. So gives you a bit extra storage space, or if you can buy the extra bedroom in there as well, a bit more sleeping space. The roofline that you see here just toggles in place as well, so really quite simple to do. And naturally, what other things you can mention is, like I said, well, later on in this video I'll show you the mesh situation with how the door and if it lines up. Now, because it's a porch awning, naturally you've got to feed it into just the top part of your rail. What you'll find is, with sitting against the vehicle, you want to get the sort of seal. So you can buy some optional upright poles, basically press a really nice foam pad against the caravan or motorhome, basically to sort of take up that gap and get it looking really quite snug. Little point look at the top, and then it basically goes directly down into the bottom. There's a real nice oversized part here as well. So the idea behind it, if you're going to like you go for the Lux, for example, or the Alto, what you find is when you kind of open the door up, naturally it kind of almost is like a hinge, so that if your wind up's not necessarily flush to the awning itself, it kind of opens it up and then kind of takes up that gap. So that's also something to be kind of aware of. Draft skirt and wheel arch cover comes with it as standard, so that's all part of it itself. So again, those little extras I sort of mentioned on the outside come naturally with it. But I think, again, when you move to the Alto version, which is basically the motorhome 260-280, you also get these little packing pads. So these are the packing pads basically you can buy separately if you really want to, and it's all about, if you're on even ground, you can basically take the adjustment out of it. So you get a load of these as well, but also importantly, if your rail protrudes out, some of the newer models do and older models do, and your beam's not pressing directly against the caravan, you can pop this in place where the beam is, and that again gives you a better tension, gets the roof looking tauter and a bit more sharper on that front as well. That's what I'll do. Let's pick the camera up and have a bit more up close and personal with some of these sort of details I've been mentioning so far. So, as we come round, we can probably see a bit more in there. Like I said, this is only the smaller version, so this is the 330, but we'll come around the back actually. You can see from the actual Annex, like I said, just replaces and zips on directly against it. Really nice PVC window. Now there is a curtain supplied with the awning as standard that works really well, and you can see actually this can go on either side, so you can have it go towards the hitch or to the back of the caravan, so you can utilise that space. Again, a single inflation point located there as well, and that's one thing I will show you actually is with this, your deflation point looks something like that. So you've got a kind of point and it's got an off and on, so you just rotate that round directly. These are the pegging points that will kind of so again it's reinforced into the stitching there, really nice done. And there's also, they put an extra bit of material in just to reinforce that point. Elasticated loops make it easier. Hard wearing PVC on the bottom again to hit any kind of crux points. And your inflation valve located directly on there. So a Boston valve, normally what you find, like I said, electric pump can supply with it as standard. But it's the way it sits. And again, so that tube, how it sort of kind of funnels in, just to kind of get extra bit of tension to the roof. Sits really quite nice immediately. And then you've got the ventilation. So big mesh panel there, you can zip that up to kind of get that kind of complete enclosure when you want to. There's 4 zip pullers on here, so you can create kind of a veranda directly with the front panel itself. And as we kind of move directly in, so I'll show you the pockets located at the top here. So this is basically the pocket for your upright poles. Like I said, they're optional extra, but they go down basically, and you've got a nice big foam pad located there to basically push that foam directly through. Now, like I said, we've currently got it with the roof line in place, but you can see the clarity on kind of the windows you get there as well. Nice sort of stars curtains, and those little kind of doors located on the side itself. One thing as well to mention is when when you look at the side panel itself, you can see here how we've got kind of a doorway on one side, and then we've got a really nice big mesh panel located there as well. So if the airflow can go directly through that, you've got an external PVC skirt that goes directly down. So when you want to seal it, you can do that as well. But these panels are interchangeable, so you can basically change this panel on this side over to where the annex was. Now that will reposition the door rather than being at the back. Basically goes directly to the front. So again, that just makes life a whole lot easier. That means you're not necessarily coming out of the caravan and straight, through the door to get out the outside. If you want to kind of keep your front nicely enclosed, but works really well. Like I said, the veranda pole location is going to go for here, so part comes included with it as standard. We've just kind of put it down for the time being, and then so from the annex point of view, like I said, we'll just clip that out for the time being as well. But on the whole, I think the one thing that's probably impressed me most kind of with this kind of collection is that when you look at it sat where it is and how it all looks, I think it just sits really well, really quite smart. The face fabric as well doesn't really feel like your kind of typical kind of polyester. It's still got that Isabella kind of class to it, and it's finished in Isabella, but when you look at what you pay for what you get, it's still an incredible value. And I think that's where, for me, throughout the whole collection, I think it just ticks a big box. And something we're going to have certainly up our indoor display showrooms. If you want to kind of see it in the flesh, come and see it and touch it and feel it and kind of get a bit more of a feel for it. I think it's definitely worth doing. But no, I think there's definitely about it. I think when you look at kind of air awnings in the market and you love that Isabella quality, and we know and love that for many years, it's just a very nice alternative. And I think they're just doing a really good job on it, really. I think that's I think again it makes an Isabella air awning now more affordable, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But yeah, for more information, of course, on the Aurora, Lux, or the Alto, you can check the link below this video. It'll take you straight through to our website, and we can individual features all listed there as well, and a bit more understanding of sort of pack weights, floor dimensions, floor sizes, optional extras you can go with it, be it the annex or flooring. So by all means have a look at that. But hopefully it's been helpful, and we look forward to seeing you again next time in our Attwoolls Outdoors video reviews.